Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, Gamer K, and I'm still getting back into the groove of doing all my reviews again after my almost 2 month hiatus. And we're back to doing a top 13. And if y'all can't see what that is, I'm just gonna do this. Yes, we're back to the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. It's been about over a year since I last did my top 13 5Ds duels. And me liking doing things in chrono order, it's time to feel the flow with Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal duels. And oh my god, did I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal was going to be the joke of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. And surprisingly, Sevens isn't as stupid as... Okay, no, you know what? That's kind of a lie. Both of them are somewhat the jokes of the series. But in it, Zexal did bring some great things. It brought the XIII summoning, which I wasn't that much into before when it came out, but that was great. Bringing out really cool monsters, pretty cool mechanics, and if it wasn't for XIII, I wouldn't have my lovely ghost tricks to play around with. So, per usual, I'll be doing my favorite 13 duels from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. And are there any rules for this one? Not really. And also, it was finally great to watch a Yu-Gi-Oh! Season where they finished the entire thing and they didn't not do English episodes talking about UGX and 5Ds. But yeah. So yeah, these are the duels that I really love throughout the series, and some of them may be either weird or absolutely badass. Also, I gotta give credit to Yu-Gi-Oh! The first couple episodes of explaining the rules to any newcomers who come across the show. And also having 2 banger opening songs. So, this is Gamer K's top 13 Zexal duels. And why top 13? Because here at the Game Hub, only the odd can be number 1. Starting off this list is actually a really cool duel, to be honest. It's one of the few triple duels that are done in the series, and I got to admit, not having those happen, and oh no, wait, there was the one with Callan, Yusei, and that terrible guy in the western town story, which kind of sucked, with the exception of Callan. It is Yuma versus Dextra and Nistro. What makes this fight really, really good is the fact that until like near the end, Yuma doesn't really have Astral, because Astral's having a little fight with the numbers and 96 inside the pendant, whatever. Also, context, the kid Flip, who's a subpar character in the show, who basically becomes the butt of the joke every time, is cheating through the tournament, making the heart pieces out of candy and scamming people. And since Nistro and Dextra are the chairs of the tournament who make sure people are following the rules, they catch him. But Yuma, not wanting his friend, and I use the term friend very loosely here because there's more friends in this thing than literally in Friends, challenges them both to a duel, and if he loses, he'll quit the tournament, and if he wins, Flip gets another shot. And right off the bat, Yuma is very surprised Astral's not helping him. So this is one of Yuma's biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Hurdles ever since getting Astral's been kind of giving him little tips, little bits of information of how to play his deck and what strategies to do. And this is the first time until the end of the duel where Astral isn't helping him, and he actually has to think on his own feet and do some of his own strategizing. And having two duelists going at you at the same time while working on that, it's really, really fun, and it just shows how far he came from being the bumbling nit in the beginning. Okay, yeah, Yuma's always a bumbling nit, but it's just a great point for him, because unlike Yusei, Yugi, or Jaden, who really strived with dueling, Yuma always struggled, and having to act with a lot on the line, it could come at a no better time in the series. Also, I always think of Yuma more of Joey still learning the ropes and having to fight a real challenge. Also, I gotta admit, him boosting up Utopia for one final attack, I'm gonna be honest, the ending's basically the same no matter what happens, because right at the end, Nistro activates his Bouncer Guard trap card, which redirects the attack to his monster instead of Dextra's, which still defeats them because they both share life points. They both lose regardless if her Pappy Operative got destroyed or Photon Strike Bouncer. Whichever, they both would be destroyed. But it just shows Nistro's ability to not want his partner harmed. And I love that about Nistro. I wish he had more of a role in the story. And he only duels like 3 more times. 2 in the carnival and 1 being brainwashed by number, I can't remember which number, but Alito's number later on. But yeah, great fight. One of the rare triple fights in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. And also, again, it's a real curdle for Yuma to fight on his own for once. Next up, if I can help it, I'm always putting a tag team duel on one of these lists because it's just good fun. But unlike the other double duel in GX, we go back to each player having only 4,000 life points, which I like. I really, really like. This one almost is, again, on this list for a good reason, but at the same time, it has a certain gimmick that a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh seasons do, except for Sevens and Cybers and of Reigns, because I don't remember them doing double duels. We got Yuma and Shark versus, yes, Scorch and Chills. I really like this fight because at this point, Shark is still the rival / friend right at the beginning, and I do love Shark. He is, without a doubt, one of my favorite Zexal characters. And not for the big twist that happens near the end, which, again, I think is absolute BS. But I digress. The fight is really good because Scorch and Chills have a good advantage in 2 ways. And no, okay, yeah, their decks are basically fire and water, but they do more dinosaur-themed monsters. And yeah, their numbers kind of show that too, with Volcasaurus and Freezerdon being their ace monsters. And also this fight works because Yuma and Shark aren't really friends up until this point. Or, I mean, they're still rivals and everything, but they're not really friends yet. But at the same time, they don't really work well together until near the end again. Kind of like how when Kaiba and the Pharaoh were fighting Umbra and Loomis. So, or Aster with Jaden against the Serena clones. It does a great job. And another thing I love about this is how the two are cheating. They change their dual discs so they get the cards they want. They broke into the dual disc and changed the algorithm so they get the cards they want. Because right from the get-go, these two are using cards that would hinder their partner if they can't summon a monster that's required, but it's definitely good. And having Utopia work with Shark's ace monster at the time, Black Ray Lancer, which is freaking amazing. I love this card. I really love this card until he gets his real ace, which is perfect. After the duel, after they kind of have a little bit of a moment, Shark starts warming up to Yuma a little bit and not calls him the loser he's always been. And it's an important lesson for Astro as he makes another observation after the duel, is that some people will not fight with honor or integrity, and they will cheat to get at whatever they want. It's one of the few times where there's a majority in the Yu-Gi-Oh series, there will always be that one cheat. For example, your Mai, your Weevil, your Esperoba, your Johnson, your... Was there any cheating in GX? I don't think so. But overall, it's still a great tag team duel, and one that really cemented Shark's, his overall understanding of Yuma a little bit. So, I'll take what I can get. There's always at least one gambler in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh series, and I love it. Yuma versus Charlie in the 2-part episode, which I love. Life is a carnival. Always have fun with it. And I love this character. He's one of the few characters who gets a number and isn't corrupted by its evil. Instead, and ironically, Number 7, Lucky Straight, is a great card to use in this kind of gambling aspect of dueling. Having his deck revolve around rolling 6s constantly in order to bust out his best abilities for his cards. And being a rank 7 monster, needing 3 level 7s, the entirety of his deck is all dice themed. And I do love that we get a small smidgen of it, of how it goes. What else? And the entire duel, Yuma is not doing well. And... Sorry, camera died. I had to plug it in. So, like I was saying, another thing I really love about Charlie's character is... Okay, yeah, they kind of throw in a little bit of information in order to make it a little bit better, is that he dated Yuma's sister Kari, and one of the few times in freaking Yu-Gi-Oh history we actually get canon relationships for once. Which is great. Also, one thing I really love is that even Yuma, who uses the card monster slots to try to summon a monster, doesn't go his way. However, when Charlie does it, he gets all the luck he can. But I do love the way the curse of number 7 works, is he's got this card called Sun Scale, and he kept saying as long as the sun is full, he will not ever fail. Yuma finds a way to destroy the spell card, and that reverses his luck. Another card that he has is Take a Chance, which is a broken-ass card if it was ever real. Basically, during each of your turns, you roll a die, and if you roll a 6, your life points are multiplied by the roll. Like, that's right? 1 second, guys. Also, I kind of find it weird that there's a card called Take a Chance for Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's also the name of the first opening. So I find that hilarious. I really find that hilarious. And while I'm researching this, another thing that he uses the card, the number 7 for, his niece needs an operation, and I guess the luck is intended for her. Let's see. Oh, if the result is 6, multiply your life points by 5. Otherwise, your life points become the same amount you had when you activated this card. Also, then you take 1,000 points of damage during your standby phase. Great card, would have been broken either way. But after the spell of number 7 is broken, Charlie's luck goes down the drain, and I do love how it's not done so much. And I do love how that little nidging of luck only works for a little bit. And at the same time, the entirety of the duel is just one big gamble. And honestly, there's not much to say about it more. Like, it's a great duel. It's a great use of a number card that is otherwise meh, but it still does great with the gambling aspect, which I love. Okay. Get your fisticuffs up, because this is one of my favorite fights with one of the Baryons. And one of the, like, it's all fun. It's the battling boxing dude, Alito versus Yuma. Obviously, a majority of these are going to be Yuma. But it's the second fight, not the first fight, which I did like the first fight before he reveals he's a Baryon. But it's the second fight where it's all on the line, and it's right before the obvious freaking reveal of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. So much so that I put that villain up on my top 13 anime villains list. Go check that out. It's from years ago, and I still stand by my claim. Having Alito just go toe-to-toe with Yuma with his battling boxers, and having Comet and Star Cestus be just, and every card they each of them uses is 100% like a boxing match. Each of them countering each other's moves and dealing damage. It's just an all-out box. And I love it. I love Alito's character. Even though he's a Baryon, he does not like using tricks. Like, the entire time it was Garag who was brainwashing the people with the Baryon card for the Chaos XIII monsters. Seriously, this whole thing could have been eliminated. But it gave us a lot of different characters and a lot of situations. Some of them good, some of them shit. But Alito is one of my favorite Baryons. Even though I don't play the Battle in Boxers. I mean, I might, because I got a whole bunch of them in the new set. It's his character that I love so much. It's just his willingness to go all freaking out in the duel. He doesn't give an inch. He doesn't, and when he loses, he accepts it, being beaten by a great warrior. Yeah, I know, saying great warrior in Yuma is kind of an oxymoron, but you know where I'm going for. He just fights with honor. He fights to his heart's content, and it's just so perfect. I wish he had more duels that weren't somewhat half-offed, like near the end of the series. And yeah, the whole previous life thing being manipulated thing of the Baryons is honestly kind of shit. I miss the good days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the villains were villains and they weren't redeemed in any way, shape, or form. I miss the old school Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, this fight is without a doubt, again, one of my favorites. The reason it's so low on the list, like nearing the best parts, is there are just a lot of other fights and duels that are so much superior because of the clinching moments and the awesome circumstance. But he went out fighting with a great fight. Wow, that was super lame to say, but I digress. Okay, climbing up the ranks a little bit more is a fight I did not expect to enjoy so much. I just love it when the villains turn on each other, and it's always fun. Vector versus Dumont and Marin near the end of the show, and it's quite honestly such a blast to see. Having Marin and Dumont fighting the scheming, the maniacal Vector, who I love with a passion. after making a big deal with Don Thousand, the big threat of the show, which, all honesty, yeah, I guess he is, but at the same time, it comes in so late, and it's kind of a bummer. But Vector definitely makes this fight highly enjoyable. Plus, with his spell, Throne of Don Thousand, I mean, yeah, it's an anime effect, so it kind of cheeses a little bit. Just the way that he just takes the hit, gets fully recovered afterwards, and the fact that he's maniacally laughing and scheming against these two, it's an outright joy. Not only that, but he uses not his own number, but Manipulator of Souls, and uses its ability to basically make a puppet out of 96. Which is fucked up in and of itself. I mean, no, really. He turns 96 into a puppet for his monster. And it's so fucked. Because those two were working together a little bit during the early stages of the mid stages of season 2. And it works. But at the same time, it's like, dude, that is hilarious in and of itself. And right when I thought the duel was going to go one way, it flips on me. And yeah, Vector takes out two of the best of his kind, of the Baryons. And he has no qualms about doing it. It's almost like if the Joker was a sentient monster. Oh, wait, Joker is technically a sentient monster. You guys know what I mean, who watched Zexal. It's a great duel. It's got a big twist near the end. And just like I said, the ability that he just shows that he manipulates and uses everyone around him to his own goals is pretty ingenious. All right. Now we have one of my favorite fights that didn't involve the main character. We got Shark versus Quattro during the tournament scene. And I really, really, really love this battle. It's Shark who has beef with Quattro because in an earlier tournament before the show's beginning, Quattro left his deck out and made it look like Shark snuck a peek at his deck to get him disqualified during the duel. Which I get. Quattro was, again, a great manipulator. And that definitely showcases in the gimmick puppets that he works with. Which, again, is one of my favorite archetypes from Zexal. I think when I get around to it, I might do my favorite archetypes in the... Nah, no need to do that. But overall, having Shark's aquatic monsters go up against the amazing gimmick puppets, and we get to see them in all their glory, see Shark combat them in his own way, and then we get my favorite boy, Shark Drake. The minute this guy came on screen, like in a previous duel, I fell in love with number 32. It's just such a great fight. And then Quattro bring out all three of his numbers, number 15, number 40, and number 88. And the fact that 88's ability would have insta-win, I love the pressure that is put on Quattro and Shark to battle it out. And then Shark going full amazing and chaotic seizing a bit Shark Drake. Abyssal Shark Drake? No, Shark Drake Vice. And it just goes from this awesome red to this pure white badass. And it's one of the better comebacks in the show. But again, he was the rival, so there was no way in hell he wasn't fighting Yuma in the tournament. It's still a great fight with a lot of twists, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. Also, the fact that Quattro's father kind of goes against him in this really showcases how interesting the first half of Zexal is. Second half, again, gives us good fights, but at the same time, there's a lot more to do in the first season. So, it was an awesome fight that went down in history. This one may be a little bit on me, but I freaking love the fight with Kite versus Vertex. Basically, Vertex is... Yeah. They did the age down thing somehow and made the three brothers' father be small. He's evil now. Wants to destroy Astral World. But having him... seeing his monsters when he fights Dextra, the heraldic beasts, which are mythical creatures, and I do love his numbers, like Genome Heritage, and yes, I'm going to be mature about this, number 69 is a badass monster to break out near the end of the fight. Even giving Kite a run for his money, and having his Galaxy Eyes and Neo Galaxy Eyes kind of become powerless to this guy's deck. Again, it's almost like, the way that Vertex is fighting him, it's almost like when Pegasus fought Kaiba, he was just toying with him because he knew he had the upper hand immediately, but didn't want to do it right off the bat. And I do love that. But damn, Vertex literally getting rid of and showing Kite up like that. And Kite is one of my favorite actual rivals, in the same way of Kaiba, Zane, Jack. It's all there, and the fight itself, I honestly, again, just like the fight with Dumont and Marin, I thought Kite was gonna pull some miracle out, but I do love Zexal because it is somewhat unpredictable a little bit. But at the same time, it's still good. It's still a great fight. Shows a great archetype. And it definitely shows how badass number 69 can be. Yes, I said it again. What do you want me to do? Can we just move on? Thank you. We're sticking with Kite for a little bit because Kite versus Mazar is one of my favorite fights. And yeah, I know they fight each other 3 times in the series, which I like because one ends in a draw or an unfinish because the monster that he summons is so powerful, it destroys the field, and then he wins in the second one, and it's their third fight. It's their third fight. Kind of near the end of the series, and it's just a battle of the Galaxy Eyes. Is Neo Galaxy Eyes versus Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. And it's a great fight. It drags a little bit, and that's why it's stuck right there in the middle, but I still love this fight. And especially because it's kind of in outer space, which is weird. Yeah, Zexal comes up with a lot of weird scenarios where things are like, it's just so bizarre how the show entered into its second season, and the second season is surprisingly where a lot of these good fights are, but again, it's still kind of odd. And then when he busts out a new Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, which becomes a number for some reason, and just obliterates Mazar and Neo Tachyon Dragon. I put this one up here for a reason, because it was a great fight, and because Mazar and Kite are very similar in how they fight with dragons. I just think it could have been a little bit better if if there wasn't so much dialogue and kind of BS peppered in here and there throughout the fight. It's just one of those fights where it feels like it should be right near the end instead of being like smidge at the end. And that's all I gotta say about this one. Okay. Never thought I'd be putting a near ender in the middle. It's Yuma versus Nash, aka Shark, who is the 7th Baryon and the leader, which, after defeating the big bad, they fight to settle everything. If Baryons win or if Yuma and Astral will win. It's an okay fight. Like, after working together to defeat Vector, and then Yuma fights Dawn 1000, I think they both fight together because, again, the final villain fight is so kind of bland that I completely forget about it. And this fight is 100% better because Nash is not only using his cards, but he's using cards to summon the numbers 101 through 107 for all of his Baryons, and then fully utilizes them with Chaos XIII's Baryon Hope, which utilizes all 7 Baryon monsters to its fullest, and also pushing Yuma to his best as well, which, again, I love. There's not much to say about this fight, except it's a great fight. Literally starting off the series with Yuma versus Shark when it was kind of in the basic stages, but to see them evolve and get closer together, and then having to become enemies again, and then becoming friends at the end with a bullshit happy-go-lucky Final Fantasy 13-ish ending. Yeah, seriously. It just works. It's a simple final fight. Well, second to third final fight. And it's just filled with a lot of emotion because I didn't want Shark to lose. Because, yeah. But it was still great. And it just had... It's right here in the middle. Like at number 5. Because of how grand the other fights are. And how great they are. So, let's continue. Never before did I think I was going to put this high up on the list. It's number 696 versus Astral. Yes, one of the few times Astral fights in this series without Yuma. Let's see, when he fights Kite in the pendant. This fight. Yeah, 3 times he fights, which is pretty amazing. And using Yuma's cards and 96 having his own specialized deck of getting out Dark Mist really easily, which also is one of my favorite numbers. I love 96 Dark Mist. It's such a great fight. And the fact that he also uses Vector's Numeron number, Gin Buster, near the end, and then he Chaos evolves that into its ultimate form. And having the struggle also with Astral not wanting to have Yuma be injured in any way, shape, or form, it definitely shows how 96 and Vector will use any advantage they can get. And I do love it. What makes this near the top of the list is the fact that right out of nowhere, he Chaos succeeds his Dark Mist into Dark Storm, which, if you saw this thing in a video game, like an actual video game where you would have to fight it, nightmare fuel for days, basically. And the one thing that really puts this duel above a lot of the others is the fact that he uses Dark Mist's effect, Dark Storm's effect, to basically nuke them both. Yeah, the duel ends in a tie, which is freaking amazing, to be honest. 96 doesn't win and gets an advantage over Astral. Astral doesn't win and destroys Dark Mist and destroys 96. Which also, spoiler alert, Dark Mist 96 is basically all the evil that was put into Astral by Dark Thousand and given physical form. So it's basically his dark half, which I do love. I was going to put his duel with Yuma up on the list, but this is the first outing for Dark Storm, and to have the fight end in a draw really sets the tone for later in the show, because it just shows that they don't always do the winner-winner thing, the winner-loser thing. They do a loser-loser, and I do love it. Very, very, once in a while will Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever do both people lose, which I love. All right, number 3, we got Yuma versus Vector. And I'm doing their first fight in the triple D dimension story, where Shark is fighting Tumon, Kite's fighting Mazar, and Yuma's fighting Astral. Yuma's fighting Vector, having to find his friend Ray, who during the duel it's revealed that Ray was Vector. Once again, a big freaking obvious. And finding out that he manipulated Yuma for so long. And Yuma being such a trustworthy guy, it doesn't go well. Not only the fact that he gave him a whole bunch of burying cards to use it for his advantage, and Astral feeling the betrayal of Yuma for not telling him anything. 96 corrupts him and possesses Yuma and makes Yuma go dark berserk mode. Okay, we've had evil Pharaoh, we've had evil Jaden. We did not have evil Yusei, but we skip that and go right to evil Yuma, which is Hellboy. Not only that, but using the evil form Utopia Ray V and using the dark Zexal weapon Chimera Clad to basically dish out a bunch of damage. But Vector's utilize a strategy about using that in order to deplete Yuma's deck. While said Yuma is in the mind of Astral and trying to free his friend and get him back to normal. I gotta admit, this duel, it showed, this and the one with Dumont and Marin showcases how Vector doesn't give two shits about using psychological manipulation in order to get a win. And it is so great showing that here. I mean, basically betraying Yuma right from the... Okay, no betrayal because he was always a villain. But using Yuma's trusting nature against him and to see it go into a chaotic event and almost winning because of a deck out is honestly one of the best fights in the game. It's best fights in the series. And the ending where they merge again and break out Utopia Ray victory in order to slice up Vector's whole Umbral Horror Masquerade, it definitely is deserving of the third spot for being such an emotional, such a great fight, and what a comeback. Who puts the final duel at the second spot on our list? But one duel just overbeats it by a good majority, but this one is still deserving of the second spot. Yuma versus Astral, the final of Zexal, is one of the more emotional duels in the fight. I mean, it just kind of reminisces to the original of the Pharaoh versus Yuki in that final test. And all honesty, it makes for a great finale. Having none of the Utopias in his deck, but Astral utilizing every single one of them to push Yuma to the final test. And then he summoned, and then near the end, and this is a game. This is one that takes, I think, 3 episodes, 2.5 episodes to complete the duel, which is so awesome. And to see all of Yuma's kind of wonky-ish monsters going up against these absolute beasts is freaking amazing. Also, him using Utopic Dragon to literally put Yuma in his place a good number of times, which It's a great fight. And then he uses the card, the Gate of Destiny, which set the chain of events in motion. The entirety of the show is, and then Yuma uses the trap, high five the sky, which again is his catchphrase, which is weird that that became a card. I'm just going to say that. Honestly, I thought this was a shoo-in. But another reason this fight is number 2 is it just goes to show how far Yuma came. From being a wishy-washy duelist to barely knew how to do certain basic combos and everything, or strategy, and having Astral help him out through almost every single fight. It just shows how far he came. And this being the only fight in the series where Yuma and Astral had to duel. Whereas the Pharaoh had to fight Yugi in the form of his own soul in the Orichalco section, which until the ending of the series, which again was downright awesome. It's such an emotional fight, considering Astral's been Yuma's best friend and confidant since the start of the series, or at least at the end of episode 1 till now. And it's quite a journey. I do like the cliche of the mentor who, or the partner who you've been with from the start, ends up being your final challenge. I do love the cliche. And Forever Zexal is just a duel that is absolutely bang on, and it does everything right to make the finale great. And some of you are wondering, what's one of the better ones? Well, the number 1 is coming up right now. I stated earlier with Shark and Yuma versus Chills and Scorch that a lot of the times the rival has to tag team with the main hero in order to achieve their goals. And the one that started it all off was Kaiba and Yugi versus Umbra and Loomis. In order for Kaiba to save his brother, Kite and Yuma versus Train Quattro did this fucking concept and elevated it to new heights. Instead of using the whole Shadow Realm BS and everything, and them cheating with the microphone to communicate, it's just an overall blast. Having the Galaxy Monsters and Yuma's odd creatures against the Gimmick Puppets and the Chronomalies, which don't work off each other, but they have their own individual tactics to go up against every Yuma and Kite. Especially having Kite, who was one of the best characters in Zexal, being beaten down by these guys, but also saved half the time by Yuma. And then with his brother Heart's power being surged in him, creating a new monster that, and needing Astral's and Yuma's help in order to beat them. Right when they're about to lose, with Gimmick Puppet of String's ability to put counters on every monster, and on his next turn, all monsters will be destroyed and they'll take damage equal to the points of the monsters. This is their last shot. And Kite, having his Galaxy Eyes weakened by a card effect, but then breaking out a monster that can be... And outside of using the numbers, Galaxy Eyes was an effect monster that was basically the blue eyes and the Cyber End Dragon and the Red Dragon Archfiend of the series. And we all know each of those get their own beefed up versions. And to finally see him XIII summon for the first time, and from Galaxy Eyes having that thing that he has to throw in like for animation effect, and then having it be a spear that he chucks into a galaxy wormhole and the explosions, and then Neo Galaxy Eyes Dragon, Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, just coming into being, the ruby pink skin with the black as night armor and the two monstrous heads on its sides with its regular head, and it's just an outright blast that happens right at the end of the episode where the duel ends. Two things get this fight so high on the list. Is first, the teamwork or somewhat lack of Yuma and Kite. That, again, correlates to Kaiba and Yugi's, or the Pharaoh's fight in the very first series of Yu-Gi-Oh! It just shows that they can do the rival working with the hero great. But this fight elevated it because, you know, again, there was more strategy in this and less restrictions with like Mask of Restrict and all the other mask cards. And then there's Neo Galaxy Eyes' debut. When I watched this when I was younger, I mean, I had to have been still in high school. When did Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal come out? When did Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal come out?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal was released April 11th, 2000.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Unbelievable. So yeah, I was right in the middle of my years of high school when it came out, and watching it on TV, it made me feel like I was watching the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. And just the debut of Neo Galaxy Eyes brought back the feeling of when Blue Eyes Ultimate was first revealed, or when Chimera Tech Overdragon was released, or Majestic Red Dragon was released. The amazing evolve of one of my favorite monsters, and plus its special ability, when Galaxy Eyes is used to summon Neo, all other monster effects are negated, which prevented the number. I mean, yeah, in the anime, all the number cards can't be destroyed except by other number cards, which is kind of BS, but again, it's for anime's sake, so. But then it eats up every other overlay unit on the field, gains the power, and is able to destroy the two ace monsters. In one round, it does this in its debut fight. And this adds to it just the sheer sound of pissed off that Kite does after he destroys Trey's Machu Mech, and then says he's coming after Quattro, and Quattro's face just is in fear because, yeah, they stole his brother. He's not gonna be happy, and it's just a badass moment, and it just shows why I love Kite so much. I mean, yeah, Yuma helps a lot in this fight, but it's just the overall debut of Neo Galaxy Eyes and the last-minute teamwork of Yuma, Astral, and Kite that make this fight so grand, so fantastic, and it does the original tag team rival with the hero thing. Like I said, it elevates that concept and does it to a great extreme. I'm surprised that this kind of duel happened mid-season 1 and not like near the end and then it moves into season 2. It is definitely one of my favorite fight of Zexal because of the atmosphere, because of the situation that they're put in, because of the back and forth between the brothers winning and then Kite and Yuma winning a little bit, and then it's go, and then they reverse it a number of times with the counters. And like I said, Neo Galaxy Eyes being summoned is one of the greatest animated moments of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it shows. And this duel high-fived the sky to the extreme, and it did it beautifully. And that's it for my top 13 Zexal duels, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed the list. For all you Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there, hope you really enjoyed the list. Like, comment, subscribe down below. And join me next week where we end the month of September. And we're almost into Villain Month, where we're going to take a look at a game that broke a curse of superhero games. And it's definitely one. Okay, what's the joke for this? Yeah, we're gonna be space traveling with a bunch of a-holes. This is Gamer K, logging out.